In the world of supposed overnight success, there are a lot of companies that were with nothing and became something we now use to this day. They are rags to riches stories of unique brands, started by unique individuals that only have accumulated wealth and vast market share but have created their own niche and never looked back. This are their stories. Whole Foods Market. In 1978, 25-year-old college dropout John Mackey and 21-year-old Renee Lawson Hardy saved and borrowed money from family and friends to open the doors of a small natural food store in Austin, Texas. Within a year of opening the store, the couple was evicted from their home for using their apartment storage or for the store. Homeless and with no place to go, they decided to save costs by moving and living at their store full-time. Since their store's safer way was zoned for commercial use only, there was no shower stall. According to the company's website, the two instead bathed in the Hobart dishwasher, which had an attached water hose. Eventually, Mackey and Hardy moved out of the store and into their own place, and within 2 years managed a merger with another natural food store to open up the first Whole Foods Market in Austin, Texas on September 20th, 1980. With the market's floor space at 10,500 square feet and with 19 employees, Whole Foods Market became the largest of its kind. In 1984, Whole Foods began expanding to other cities by building stores from the ground up and by acquiring other natural food stores around the country. In 1992, the company went public, and in 2008 posted $6.5 billion in revenues and $3.2 billion in assets. From the humble beginnings in Austin, Texas in 1978, to being ranked 369 on the Fortune 500, Whole Foods Market is continually rising to the challenge of the market and providing a unique service to America. In 2017, Whole Foods sold to Amazon for $13.7 billion. Molson Coors. In 2005, Coors Brewing Company merged with Molson to become the fifth largest brewing company in the world. Though Coors has maintained success throughout the 20th and 21st centuries, the road was long and began with the humble story of a German-born immigrant by the name of Adolf Coors. Coors became an orphan at the age of 15 and had to support his younger siblings by working at a local brewery in a small Prussian town, in what is now the modern-day city of Wuppertal, Germany. Adolf continued to work in the brewing industry until he was 21, when war and unrest in his country caused him to seek opportunity in America. He then stowed away on a ship and arrived in the United States in 1868 with no money and no job. From there, Coors headed west to look for employment. He found one odd job after another and supported himself until he would cross paths with another German immigrant in Gold & Co. Based on Adolf Coors' initial investment of $2,000 in 1872, his company has grown to be one of the largest brewing companies in the world. Coors' claim to their success in the brewing business is based on what they refer to as the perfect ingredient: water from the Rocky Mountains. Since day one, Coors Brewing Company has marketed the beer in this way. Today, Coors now has $11.7 billion in revenue and $13.5 billion in assets. Coors Brewing Company is another example of an immigrant success story, where persistence, timing, and smart investments can pay off in the long run. Nordstrom. In 1887, a 16-year-old boy from Sweden left his home for the promise of America. He arrived in New York City with only $5 to his name and unable to speak a word of English. This boy's name was John W. Nordstrom. His first years in America were surprisingly tough for the young immigrant. He labored in mines and logging camps just to make survive. Nordstrom, however, persisted and took manual labor jobs that allowed him to continually move west towards the Pacific Ocean. After struggling for 10 years, the 26-year-old Nordstrom picked up the daily newspaper to find that gold had been discovered in Alaska. As the legend goes, he made plans the very next morning to head north to discover his fortune. After 2 years of hard labor, difficult terrain and relentless competition. Nordstrom experienced moderate success and was able to save nearly $13,000. He then moved to Seattle, Hawaii, to invest his small fortune. In 1901, Nordstrom opened his first shoe store, just 14 years after coming to America. Throughout the 20th century, Nordstrom grew from the one shoe store in downtown Seattle to what is now a multi-billion-dollar retail empire. Dell at one time was the largest seller of personal computers and servers in the world. Presently, Dell is ranked 34 on the Fortune 500, and in 2023 boasted revenues of $102 billion, with assets topping $27.5 billion. The path to the success that Dell now enjoys began with an idea and a $1,000 investment. While attending the University of Texas in 1984, Michael Dell founded the company as PCs Limited. Initial operations of Dell's company ran from Dell's dorm room until he decided to drop out of college to run his company full-time. In 1985, the company produced the first computer of its own design, and by 1988 had an initial public offering that valued the company at nearly $80 million. Mattel. Shortly after World War II, newly married Ruth and Elliot Handler decided to start a business out of the garage of their Southern California home. Though Mattel is best known as a toy maker, the brand initially produced and sold picture frames. Shortly after opening for business, Handler began making dollhouse furniture with the scraps left over from the picture frames. The couple would soon find out that the toy business was much more lucrative than picture framing. The Handlers had little business experience and even less capital, but the demographics of a baby boom, plus a virtual toyless marketplace, afforded the couple a unique opportunity to carve out a niche. Mattel would have their first hit toy in 1947 with the Uki-A-Doodle, a miniature plastic ukulele that proved to be an immediate success that drew large orders. By 1955, Mattel had grown enough to become a sponsor of the new television program, the Mickey Mouse Club. Soon after, Mattel released their iconic toy, Barbie. In 1963, the company went public. From the humble beginnings in the garage to the New York Stock Exchange, Mattel is now ranked 388 on the list of Fortune 500 companies. In 2023, Mattel reached $6 billion in revenues and reported $4.8 billion in assets. Wrigley. In the spring of 1891, the 29-year-old William Wrigley Jr. moved from Philadelphia to Chicago with only $32 to his name. Soon after arriving in Chicago, Wrigley began selling soap. As an incentive to the customers, if they purchased his soap, he would give them a free can of baking powder. Soon, baking powder proved to be more popular than the soap he was selling, so he switched his business. A year later, in 1892, Wrigley used chewing gum as an incentive for buying his baking powder. Again, chewing gum proved to be more popular than baking powder, and so he switched business again. The first brand of chewing gum Wrigley produced was Juicy Fruit in 1893. Through his personal hard work as a salesman and his ability to advertise, Juicy Fruit would soon become the #1 selling chewing gum in the country. Wrigley went public in 1919, and since then has seen ups and downs in the market. Wrigley has remained a staple and perhaps the most visible brand in the chewing gum business throughout now into the 21st century. A globally distributed brand, Wrigley is one of the largest gum company in the world and one of the most successful businesses in any industry in the world. In 2008, Berkshire Hathaway helped Mars Candy buy Wrigley for $23 billion. Starbucks. In 1971, 3 academics each invested $1,350 of their own money into the first Starbucks located in downtown Seattle. English teacher Jerry Baldwin, history teacher Zev Siegel, and writer Gordon Bowker opened the store called Starbucks Coffee, Tea, and Spice. Shortly after opening and to continue their operations, the 3 borrowed another $5,000 from the local bank. The 3 partners wanted to pattern their business after Pete's Coffee and Tea in Berkeley, California, which sold dark roast coffee beans and taught customers how to grind the beans and make freshly brewed coffee at home. It wasn't until the early 1980s, when Howard Schultz entered the picture, that Starbucks began focusing not on selling coffee beans, but on making coffee, tea, and espresso drinks for customers inside the store. Though there was much hesitation from the founding partners, this proved to be the business model Starbucks would follow. Starbucks went public in 1992 and proved to be one of the most successful IPOs that year. With the infusion of public capital, Starbucks began to strategically expand all over the US, at one point at the rate of opening one new store per day. Though Starbucks has experienced a decline in popularity in the last several years, the brand's exponential growth is impressive. In 2023, Starbucks was ranked 125 on the Fortune 500. In 2023, they posted revenues of $37 billion. These companies went from nothing to something. It just goes to show you, if you solve a problem in the market, your business will be successful. For more business stories like this, subscribe to the Tuner's Minute Entrepreneurship channel